Hi everybody, happy Tuesday night. I'm here with the Missy Jen. And you remember, well, how could you forget? Just last Sunday, a couple days ago, we were out at the Fountaingrove Utopian community there. Out there with the Missy, and we were just striking pay dirt, right? When what happened?
The police came, private police.
The private dick came and said, well, you kind of got to move off of here. And I guess if we hemmed and hawed and moved the car, although there's no place to park, we could have come back. But at that time when we did the, when we went over there, the only map we really had to work from, besides a little bit of history that we were able to get, because this thing was really in its heydays in the late 1890s, was this map that we had before, and we really had no idea of the scale of what we were working with. In other words, we knew that this was the wine cellar and the distillery, because when we went to the overhead map here, we could see right there, looking right down to where all the burn was inside of that. But the problem is we had no idea of the scale, because they were really the only existing buildings that we could see on the property. We could see other things like the like we could see the manor house over here, and down below we could see the commandery. The commandery being where the men stayed, and then the manor house being where the owner stayed, and down here at the Fountaingrove was where the ladies stayed. And then we started to do, I started to do some more research, and lo and behold, as luck would have it, I really lucked out when I was on the Sonoma State University, part of the Cal State system. They had a really nice, more extensive map of the area. So instead of being cut off here, all of a sudden we could see, wow, there's what would later become Fountaingrove Boulevard. And there's Mendocino, there's the round barn down at the end of the property. All of a sudden we could start to get some scale in here, and we could suddenly start to see, like, hey, this place, if this is the corner down there, this thing's probably less than a mile from here over to the roadway here. In other words, all of a sudden, instead of thinking like, oh, this thing's like 5 miles square and we're never going to find where anything was on the map, all of a sudden we had like a key that started to open the door, didn't we, on that?
Yeah, we definitely got a really good idea on our scale, and basically been able to locate now, actually, very pinpointedly locations.
Yeah, we think we've really hit on what is where now, or what, looking at it in 2014, we think we can see what was there in like 1914, okay?
Yeah,
like 100 years ago, and we think we're some of the few people that really know. And let's tear into this a little bit, because we're going to be out there again tomorrow. We may very well get thrown off. And the more I studied this map here, the more I started thinking, well, since the scale is close together, in other words, instead of talking about miles here, we're probably talking less than maybe a half a mile defines the whole map here, a half a mile square each direction. So we know we were over here metal detecting, and we walked around this, and then I thought to myself, well, there's the center line. We didn't go between the two buildings because there was a fence around. But before, there used to be something I call Broadway here. There was a walkway or a roadway that came down between the buildings. There was a, you know, what the heck were those things over there, Jen? Some of those outbuildings were like a sherry house, grape juicing. You had the distillery, you had the carpentry, you had the blacksmith shop. All that there on the premises, because when you have a utopia, you want a self-sustaining sort of community, right? And then I noticed, well, these things are pretty close together. If scale is sort of accurate, then this Broadway comes down and it turns right down to where the commandery house is, which is where the men lived. So I started going over to the, I started looking at a satellite view here, And wow, what do you think I discovered? Look at that curving road coming right out Broadway there, and it comes right down there. And I held up the map of that juxtaposition over top of that, and that sort of put the if Jen holds that for 1 second, it put that commandery house at the end of the curve right here. And I thought to myself, wow, you know, the old site for that house could be right around here somewhere. So we got the little man out here that's on the Google Maps, and we stuck him out on the street right here to take a look right there. And interestingly enough, let me get this thing turned. When we went to look at it here, and I'm going to turn that a little bit, looking down the road. All of a sudden, and let me get this down a little more here, you could see down here a little further down the road, all of a sudden when you look to your right here, look at that, you could see old Canary Island palm trees. In other words, what we're looking at right here, looking in there, and let's turn it again, could very well have been the site. Put the little thing right there and turn it. Could very well have been the site here of where this, what we call the commandery, right here, coming out from the distillery, and right there could in fact be that site. Now, one of the reasons we say that are several things. It's a commanding view up on top of that ridge. And number two, do you see the Canary Island palm trees there? Those things can live easily 100 years. And if you go further down the road here, which we'll go a little further down here, and you look to your right, I'm not sure how far down it is, but if you look to your right, we could actually see another palm tree over here. And believe me when I tell you, these palm trees do not occur in nature here, okay? They had to be planted by somebody, and these things are very, very slow growing. So all of a sudden, Jen and I started thinking to ourselves, you know what? This might be the spot where that house stood, defined by the tree. So we think that might be a really cool place to go for some detecting. Anyway, Jen and I did the research, and if all goes well tomorrow, we got a chance to do what I call some power detecting. And that means we get to the site quickly and we just do a real quick sweep. If our analysis is correct, that's where the buildings were, and we're talking about 3-story buildings. We're talking about huge buildings, places where 300 people lived. If we're correct, there should be some evidence on the ground besides the fact that there's palm trees on there, which is kind of a giveaway to me because they're not a common thing up here in the county, and it looks like somebody maybe in the 1920s planted them. And remember, the owner, Nagasawa, lived there till 1934, so he could have easily planted them.
The commandery house actually was torn down in 1970.
1970. So we should see something. Now, the good news for us is not many people even understand the history, or these maps are so rare that we sussed out here that to overlay them was a real work of incredible luck and a lot of hard work, or hours on our part, of putting this thing together. So if this pays off, we're going to have a lot of fun tomorrow, and provided we got 2 sites to detect. The weather's going to be a little rainy maybe tomorrow. That might work in our favor, so we'll be able to get out there. And if we get thrown off of one, we still have the other one down there to detect. So I have a feeling we might get a few things tomorrow. If not, what an exciting little bit of history to replace on today's map. Are you excited?
Oh yeah.
All right, you're fired up. You can't tell it, but
I've been already practicing.
Practicing, you're practicing.
On the back.
All right, you got your power sweep. All right, everybody, to be continued tomorrow. Thanks so much for watching.